Welcome to Devotional Drops, where we explore the richness of Scripture and how it speaks to our lives today. In this episode, we're reflecting on faith in impossibilities, faith in the face of impossibility. It's a concept that's shaped human history, from ancient religious texts to modern day inspirational stories. But what if I told you that seeing the impossible as possible isn't just a spiritual practice, but a scientifically backed approach to overcoming life's greatest challenges?
Hmm, that's an intriguing perspective. Can you elaborate on how science supports this idea of faith transforming the impossible?
Well, recent studies in neuroscience have shown that our beliefs and expectations can actually rewire our brains. When we choose to believe in possibilities beyond our current circumstances, we're activating neural pathways that can lead to increased resilience and problem solving abilities. It's like we're training our brains to see solutions where we once saw only obstacles.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about blind faith, but about actively reshaping our thought patterns?
Exactly. And this idea isn't new. Throughout history, we've seen examples of people who faced seemingly insurmountable odds with unwavering faith. Take the biblical story of Abraham, for instance. Here's a guy who's way past his prime, and God tells him he's going to be the father of a great nation. From a human perspective, it was impossible.
Right. Well, that's what it sounds like. But how does an ancient story like that relate to our modern challenges?
Well, the principle remains the same. When we're facing our own impossible situations, we're being invited to trust in something beyond our own abilities or understanding. It's about believing that with faith, the impossible becomes possible. And this isn't just about big miraculous events. It can apply to everyday challenges too, like overcoming an addiction, rebuilding a broken relationship, or finding hope in the midst of depression.
I can see how that could be comforting. But what about when things don't work out the way we hope? Doesn't that shake our faith?
That's a great question, and it's one that many people struggle with. I think it's important to remember that having faith doesn't mean we'll always get the outcome we want. Sometimes, seeing with the eyes of faith means trusting that there's a bigger picture we can't yet see. It's about holding on to hope even when things look bleak.
Mm-hmm. That sounds challenging. How do you maintain that perspective when things get really tough?
One practice that's been transformative for me is keeping a gratitude journal. Even on my worst days, I try to write down 3 things I'm grateful for. It helps me focus on the good that's still present in my life, even when circumstances are difficult. And there's science behind this too. Studies have shown that practicing gratitude can actually increase our overall well being and resilience.
That's a great idea. It's like training your mind to look for the positive, even in challenging situations. Are there other practical steps people can take?
Absolutely. Another powerful practice is meditation or mindfulness. Research has shown that regular meditation can actually change the structure of our brains, increasing gray matter in areas associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation. It's like giving our brains a workout in staying present and managing stress.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just about positive thinking, but about actually rewiring our brains?
Exactly. And community plays a huge role in this too. Having people around you who can support you, encourage you, and remind you of truth when you're struggling to see it yourself is invaluable. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology found that social support was one of the strongest predictors of resilience in the face of adversity.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like having multiple sets of faith eyes to help you when your own vision is clouded. But what about for people who might not have a strong faith background or community?
Well, that's where I think the universal principles we've been discussing come in. Whether you're coming from a religious background or not, practices like gratitude, mindfulness, and seeking social support can be incredibly powerful. It's about cultivating a mindset that looks for possibilities rather than getting stuck in limitations.
So it's really about developing a resilient mindset, regardless of your specific beliefs?
Exactly. And there's a quote I love from Nelson Mandela that captures this idea perfectly. He said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." That's the essence of what we're talking about. The power of perseverance and belief in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds.
That's a powerful quote. It reminds me of other historical figures who've overcome incredible challenges. Do you have any other examples that come to mind?
Oh, absolutely. Think about someone like Helen Keller, who overcame both blindness and deafness to become a world renowned author and activist. Or consider the Wright brothers, who were told for years that human flight was impossible. These stories remind us that what seems impossible today could be tomorrow's reality.
Those are inspiring examples. But I'm wondering, how do we apply this mindset to the everyday challenges we face?
That's a great question. I think it starts with reframing how we see our challenges. Instead of seeing them as insurmountable obstacles, we can choose to view them as opportunities for growth and innovation. It's about asking, what can I learn from this? Or how can this make me stronger? Rather than getting stuck in a victim mentality.
Hmm, that's an interesting perspective. It sounds like it requires a lot of intentional effort.
You're absolutely right, it does take effort, but the payoff can be incredible. And there's a fascinating study that supports this idea. Researchers at Stanford University found that people who viewed stress as enhancing rather than debilitating had better health outcomes and were more likely to overcome challenges.
Wow, that's exactly what we're talking about. It's not just about positive thinking, but about fundamentally changing how we perceive and respond to challenges.
Exactly. And as we wrap up, I think that's the key takeaway. Whether we're facing personal struggles, global crises, or seemingly impossible dreams, our mindset and faith can be powerful tools for transformation. It's about cultivating resilience, seeking support, and choosing to believe in possibilities beyond our current circumstances.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful discussion. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
I would say this: don't give up hope. Whatever you're facing, remember that you're not alone. Reach out to others for support, practice gratitude and mindfulness, and keep taking small steps forward. And most importantly, be open to the possibility that the solution or the strength you need might come in unexpected ways. The impossible just might be the starting point for something amazing.
Thank you for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It's been truly inspiring.
It's been my pleasure. Remember, listeners, that what seems impossible today could be tomorrow's reality. Keep your eyes open, your heart hopeful, and your mind resilient. Until next time, this is Gen FM signing off.